school today to inspect the school's preparedness for the reopening of schools in September. Let's cross over there and listen to the CS.
By September of this year. So our ministry has already started going to the field to physically assess. And what we are avoiding is people giving us shopping lists, which is the usual thing. We want to go and check at what is precisely necessary so that we can open our schools and ensure that our children are safe. And in that regard, we have started by thinking of the most important thing, which is the health and safety of our children. And we have not started this week, actually. We started late last week. We have traveled, myself and the PS and the other people, to identify whether water storage is a challenge in primary schools within the nation. And what we have found out is still gratifying, because even the 3 schools that we have been to this morning, the 3 primary schools we have been to this morning, have adequate water storage facilities. Some of them have piped water, some of them have shallow well water. And so what we are going to consider now, which is actually the elephant in the room, and you know, is the issue of social and physical distancing. Because our schools are already full to capacity, to the extent that we had just completed 100% transition at the time we were visited by COVID. So you'll be seeing our officials across the nation taking physical stock. We now have the correct data, and I think it is for us to use it judiciously. For example, we know the number of schools, both public and private. We know the number of children in both pre-primary, primary and secondary, in both public and private schools. And we know the number of teachers in those schools, and that is power. As far as the government is concerned, we are under very strict instruction to ensure that we involve the stakeholders as we prepare for the reopening. And from within the Ministries of Education and Health, we have already formed several committees, and those committees are working on the brick and mortar of what has to be done before we open schools. They are not working around table. They are going to come out to the field to consult the stakeholders, as was ordered by His Excellency the President, and therefore we are going to be in a position to give you a lot more in terms of what is the minimum that has got to be done. But the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is perhaps what most Kenyans and other people in the world do not want to hear. In order for us to open in September, the government has given a raft of financial support, which I'll read for you at the end. But the Ministry of Health must be satisfied that all the children and the teachers and all staff in schools are going to be safe as we open the schools. It is also our duty as handymen of His Excellency the President, perhaps sometimes to tell him what he does not want to hear. We wouldn't want to guide the President to open schools only to close them a week or 2 later, like is now happening in Beijing, like has happened in Israel, like has happened in South Korea and many other countries. So we must prepare to do this all together. In terms of delivering material to the children at home, you are aware that even though we can't reach all the children, we are reaching a reasonably significant number of children, not just to instill information to them, but also to keep them busy and away from truancy. And this leads me to the next point, in which I am going to be very blunt. And I think I have kept crying like somebody in the wilderness, that it is about time parents took over the control of their children. Are we together? It's about time parents took over the control of their children. There are certain things nobody wants to read, and I can see very many members of the Fourth Estate are assuming that the next person has no COVID. Can you cover your nose and mouth? The next person next to you could be having COVID, and you'll give it to the other person. The issue of our girls, our children, and grandchildren getting pregnant, as if all we are thinking about is about sex. I am going to lobby the cabinet, and by extension His Excellency the President, so that they consider changing the law to block information related to pornography from being accessed by all and sundry in this country. I think it is wise and it is proper to call a spade a spade. And also, because you see, when you are not thinking about sex, but somebody opens the pornographic page, then you start thinking about it, and you start generating ideas. By the way, why is that site accessible in Kenya? Who needs it? So don't tell us that because it is accessible in the US, it should be accessible here. There are many countries, both African and Asian, that have blocked it, and their culture is better. So I would like you, members of the Fourth Estate, to carry that message. For those who have given birth to female children, I just want to repeat for the umpteenth time, it is not the money, but it is the quality time of your life that you spend with that girl, giving her confidence, telling her the body is her own temple, that she's the only one with the power. Not people who tell you they can't sleep. They go to sleep immediately you're out of sight. There's nobody who will tell you, oh, he can't sleep when he's thinking about you. He wants what is in between your legs. And the power is with you. Can the parents take time to talk to the children? But going further, I would like to interrogate the rates of the pregnancies because they look obnoxious. And I'm asking myself as a professor, did these children go and report that they are pregnant? Who is giving us these figures? Because they seem to be definitive figures. Could some NGOs who are keen on pushing sexual education be using these exaggerated numbers? So we are going to interrogate, despite the fact that we know our children are getting pregnant, but we are going to interrogate further to find out whether they are exaggerated for a specific purpose. For us as parents and grandparents, I think this is the red line. And if government finds out or catches anybody who has violated a minor, how I wish I had the power to do even more than just jailing that person. Are we together on that point? Going forward, there are certain things that we will have to do before we open. We are taking stock of what is required. I think you already know the issue of the masks. We are now at a stage where we are creating a prototype mask. The prototype mask is being created by the NYS, where we have looked at, with the Ministry of Health, the expert there, we are looking at the material and the various sizes of masks. And once we accept the prototype, then we shall ask the government agencies to provide exactly that type of mask for our children. And that will be the time when we ask the government to fund it, so that we remove all the intermediaries who want to make profit. This is not time to make profit from masks that are covering the faces of our children. In terms of water, you have seen what we are doing. Most of the schools have storage facilities, and I want to thank once again our elected leaders, the MPs. If you go around, you will see their fingerprints. They have bought many tanks in many schools, and this is to encourage them to continue. But the government will take a very quick audit, and where there is no water storage facility, we will provide one before we open schools. And of course, together with the Ministry of Health, we wish to identify sanitizers and how we are going to ensure that the sanitizers are placed in schools where they are needed. Questions we are asking: is it proper to unmask children in pre-primary 1 and 2 below 6 years? We shall get a consensus from everybody, including you, whether we should also provide them with masks. There have been debates of sanitizers being used in schools. I think the consensus is that they should be used because some schools may not actually have adequate water. So the sanitizer will come in to ensure that that is done. So this is a journey that we are working together with. The other question we are asking ourselves as government, together with you, would it be proper to test all the teachers before the schools open? The answer to that will come in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Because you know, one teacher can spread the disease to many people. And of course, just before we open, we shall have taken the students, we shall have taken the teachers to school. They will have been carried through the COVID response program so that they are able to manage. On the very sensitive matter of timetabling and examinations, we are under public instruction by His Excellency the President that we work towards opening on the 1st of September. We shall comply and build towards that purpose. And the dates of the exam will definitely roll over to early next year. Because if we are opening in September, and we have already said the children must start from where they left. I think it is just. Then perhaps as we are cooking the food, the earliest the children the exams can take place is around February and March. And in any case, not later than April. Because if you do the exam in April, then the transition will not take place. So our beloved people must also start thinking about where is the red line. For example, yesterday we had the highest number, is it?
Yeah.
Yesterday we had the highest number, and we are still increasing. If this scenario continues into September, then you do not expect the president to tell you to go and open the schools. And if we delay beyond September, then I think we shall be talking about other issues, because everything actually depends on the health issues. How long this thing stays depends on how me and you behave. And I'm very glad that today the members of the Fourth Estate are absolutely disciplined. They are all wearing masks. They are wearing them correctly. And that's what you should show the other people to do. What has the government done in terms of preparedness? Let me just read for you something that will show that the government of the Republic is actually the budgetary allocation to the ministry and TSC, and I'll very quickly run through. The government of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is to spend 2.4 billion for the recruitment of 10,000 intern teachers to support the 100% transition and also the COVID-related issues. 2.1 billion for the construction of additional classrooms in secondary schools. 1.9 billion for the provision of at least 250,000 locally fabricated desks for secondary and primary schools. And I can assure you that under my watch, we shall make more desks for less, but the quality will be better, because we want to assure you that nobody will make too much profit from this process. 700 million for capitation and improvement of infrastructure in low-cost boarding schools in arid and semi-arid areas. Another 300 million for recruitment of 1,000 ICT interns to support digital learning in public schools. 59.4 billion for free day secondary education program, including NHIF health cover for our children. 12.4 billion for free primary education program. 2 billion for the permanent recruitment of an additional 5,000 teachers. 1.8 billion for the school feeding program. 800 million for the digital literacy program and competency-based curriculum. And since I've mentioned the competency-based curriculum, before I conclude, I would like to assure the nation that the competency-based curriculum is going on extremely well. And we are at the point where we have moved from 0 draft to draft 1, and we are just cooking. The food is about to be eaten. Maybe in about a week or two, you will hear more about it. But we have not. You will be asking, oh, did we, for example, engage stakeholders during COVID? Of course, yes, we did. Because for us, you look forward, there's no looking back. We're able to engage the stakeholders in manners which my people interviewed them and recorded the interviews and their opinions across the country. We would as well have said, well, let us wait for the COVID to stop, but time is the only thing that does not stop. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that the government, through both the Ministry of Education and Health, wishes to assure all stakeholders that we are doing everything within our means to ensure that the schools are open as soon as possible, but they should be only open when our children and the workers there are safe. I want to thank you very much. I don't know whether I should allow you any one or two questions, but they must be relevant to what I'm talking about. If they are not, I will not answer. Yes, please.
Okay. My name is Alan Machanda from KTN. You talked about the roadmap towards opening the schools on September 1st. You talked about the essential commodities like water, sanitary.